Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
The year of our Lord, 1687, witnessed the publication of a monumental treatise, a work destined to forever alter the course of optical science, Isaac Newton's Optics. This was, however, considerably more than the publication year. It was the date of the first edition of Principia Mathematica, which contained, within its pages, the seeds of a revolution far beyond gravitation. The world of optics, steeped in speculation and often hampered by imprecise experimentation, was poised to receive a similar, albeit delayed, transformation. To fully appreciate the magnitude of Newton's achievement, one must first consider the intellectual landscape that preceded. Prior to Newton, the study of light was a fragmented endeavour. Figures such as Johannes Kepler, through his exploration of lenses for astronomical observation, made important contributions to understanding refraction. René Descartes, with his emphasis on mechanistic explanations, proposed that light was a pressure transmitted through a subtle medium. Christian Huygens, proponent of the wave theory, offered an alternative model wherein light propagated as disturbances akin to sound waves. These theories, while insightful, remained largely qualitative and lacked the unifying mathematical framework that Newton would provide. The very nature of light particle versus wave was a matter of fierce debate, further complicating matters. Hazen, centuries prior, had laid substantial groundwork in understanding vision and the principles of optics, but his work, while accurate, was not yet leveraged into a cohesive theory that fully described the constituent parts of light, and Newton's Optics transcends mere observation. It establishes a rigorous, experimental methodology for investigating the properties of light. The book is structured not as a singular, monolithic argument, but as a series of books, parts, and queries, each delving into a specific aspect of optical phenomena. His initial presentation showcases the prism experiments, the very core of his optical investigations. Newton meticulously describes how a beam of sunlight, when passed through a prism, is not simply altered or modified, but rather decomposed into a spectrum of colours. This observation led him to the groundbreaking conclusion that white light is not a homogeneous entity, but a mixture of all the colours of the spectrum. He emphasised this point through a second prism experiment, where he recombined the separated colours, successfully reconstituting white light. This demonstration served as a powerful rebuke to the prevailing belief that colour was a modification of light produced by the prism itself. Furthermore, Newton meticulously investigated the nature of these constituent colours. He demonstrated that each colour, once separated, possesses an intrinsic and immutable quality. Further refraction, no matter how many prisms were employed, would not alter its hue. This led him to the concept of degrees of refrangibility, a fundamental property of light that could be quantified and measured. Each colour was associated with a specific degree of refrangibility, meaning that blue light, for example, always bent more severely than red light when passing through a refractive medium. This careful quantification paved the way for a mathematical description of optical phenomena, aligning optics with the quantitative rigour of mechanics championed in his Principia. He then moved on to explain the phenomenon of colour in natural objects, proposing that objects appear coloured because they selectively absorb some colours from white light and reflect others. A red apple, for instance, appears red because it absorbs most colours except red, which it reflect. A significant portion of optics is dedicated to the exploration of Newton's rings, an interference phenomenon observed when a planar convex lens is placed on a flat glass surface. Newton observed a series of concentric, coloured rings formed around the point of contact between the lens and the glass. His explanation of these rings, while not entirely correct by modern standards, demonstrated his keen observational skills and his attempt to reconcile these phenomena with his corpuscular theory of light. He posited that the rings were caused by fits of easy reflection and fits of easy transmission, attributing these fits to a vibratory motion associated with the corpuscles of light, while a modern explanation relies on wave interference, deriving from work by Thomas Young and Augustin Jean Fresnel. Much later, Newton's meticulous description of the phenomenon and his attempt at explanation stimulated further research and laid the groundwork for subsequent discoveries. The queries, appended to the later editions of Optics, are a particularly fertile ground for understanding Newton's broader philosophical and scientific views. These queries, posed as questions, are not mere rhetorical devices, but rather a platform for Newton to explore speculative ideas and to suggest avenues for future research. They touch upon a wide range of topics, including the nature of matter, the cause of gravity, and the relationship between mind and matter. In these queries, Newton cautiously puts forth his corpuscular theory of light, arguing that light is composed of tiny particles emitted from luminous bodies. He uses this theory to explain phenomena such as reflection and refraction, suggesting that these phenomena arise from attractive and repulsive forces acting between the particles of light and the surfaces of objects. It is important to note that Newton viewed his corpuscular theory as a hypothesis, a framework for understanding observed phenomena. He remained open to alternative explanations and acknowledged the possibility that future experiments might reveal the limitations of his theory. His approach was always tempered by a deep sense of empirical caution, a hallmark of his scientific method. The immediate impact of optics was significant, albeit complex. On one hand, it was widely praised for its experimental rigor and its systematic approach to the study of light. Newton's prism experiments and his meticulous observations of optical phenomena were quickly replicated and confirmed by other scientists. His work provided a solid foundation for the development of new optical instruments and techniques. On the other hand, Newton's corpuscular theory of light faced considerable resistance, particularly from those who favoured the wave theory championed by Huygens. The debate between the corpuscular and wave theories of light would continue for over a century, shaping the course of optical research during that time. The immediate impact of Newton's work included practical advancements, specifically the design and perfection of reflecting telescopes. These instruments, superior in many ways to refracting telescopes, allowed for greater magnification and reduced chromatic aberration, proving invaluable for astronomical observation. In subsequent centuries, Newton's optics continued to exert a profound influence on the development of optical science, while the wave theory of light eventually gained ascendancy. Thanks to the work of Young and Fresnel, Newton's contributions remained fundamental. His emphasis on experimental methodology, his meticulous observations, and his mathematical analysis of optical phenomena set a new standard for scientific research. The concept of degrees of refrangibility, initially proposed by Newton, later evolved into the concept of refractive index, a fundamental property of materials used in optical design. His work on interference phenomena, while not fully explained by his corpuscular theory, paved the way for the development of wave optics and the understanding of phenomena such as diffraction and interference. Later, James Clerk Maxwell built upon this work, unifying electricity, magnetism, and light, solidifying the wave nature of light in his electromagnetic. Furthermore, Newton's optics had a significant impact on the philosophical understanding of science. His emphasis on observation, experimentation, and mathematical analysis became a cornerstone of the scientific method. His cautious approach to theorizing, his willingness to acknowledge the limitations of his own theories, and his openness to alternative explanations served as a model for future scientists. The queries at the end of optics, in particular, became fertile ground for speculation about the fundamental nature of the universe. These considerations extended beyond the immediate realm of physics into larger metaphysical questions. The history of science is replete with instances where established theories are challenged and ultimately replaced by new paradigms. Newton's optics is no exception. However, the enduring legacy of this work lies not only in its specific findings, but also in its profound influence on the methodology of scientific inquiry. Newton's meticulous approach to experimentation, his rigorous mathematical analysis, and his cautious interpretation of results set a new standard for scientific research. While some of his theoretical interpretations were eventually superseded by more accurate models, his contributions to our understanding of light and colour remain fundamental. Revisions and deeper understandings of Newton's work have emerged over time. While he championed a corpuscular theory, later research revealed the wave-particle duality of light. This understanding suggests that light exhibits properties of both particles and waves, a concept that transcends the traditional dichotomy highlighted in earlier debates. Quantum mechanics further revolutionized our understanding of light, providing a framework for understanding phenomena at the atomic and subatomic levels. It demonstrated that energy, including light, is quantized into discrete packets called photons. This understanding has led to new technologies such as lasers and quantum computing. The influence of optics extends beyond specific individuals and is found in the development of entire fields. Colorimetry, the science of measuring and specifying colour, owes much to Newton's initial observations. His discovery that white light is composed of a spectrum of colours laid the foundation for understanding how colours are perceived and how they can be quantified. Modern colour science, with its applications in fields such as printing, photography, and computer graphics, is a direct descendant of Newton's pioneering work. Another field profoundly influenced by optics is spectroscopy, the study of the interaction between matter and electromagnetic radiation. Newton's prism experiments demonstrated that different colours of light are refracted at different angles, leading to the development of spectrometers, instruments that can separate light into its constituent wavelengths and analyze the resulting spectrum. Spectroscopy has become an indispensable tool in fields such as astronomy, chemistry, and materials science, allowing scientists to probe the composition and properties of matter. Contemporary reception of optics was not without its critics. Certain scientists, wedded to the prevailing Aristotelian view of colour, argued that Newton's experiments were flawed and his conclusions unwarranted. Others, proponents of the wave theory of light, challenged his corpuscular interpretation, emphasizing the wave-like behavior of light in phenomena such as diffraction and interference. However, the overwhelming weight of experimental evidence gradually shifted in favor of Newton's findings. His meticulous observations, his rigorous mathematical analysis, and his ability to explain a wide range of optical phenomena ultimately convinced the scientific community of the validity of his conclusions. The debt owed to prior works is considerable. While Newton's genius was undeniable, he stood on the shoulders of giants. Alhazen's Book of Optics, as previously mentioned, provided a comprehensive treatment of vision and the principles of optics. Kepler's work on lenses and refraction laid the groundwork for understanding the behavior of light in optical instruments. Descartes' mechanistic philosophy influenced Newton's attempt to provide a physical explanation for optical phenomena. These were the predecessors who provided the foundation on which Newton built his monumental edifice. The direct influence of optics on others cannot be overstated. Scientists such as Joseph Fraunhofer, who discovered dark lines in the solar spectrum, were directly inspired by Newton's work on prisms and colour. Thomas Young, whose experiments on interference provided strong evidence for the wave theory of light, built upon Newton's observations of interference phenomena, even as he challenged Newton's corpuscular interpretation. These individuals, and countless others, were profoundly influenced by Newton's optics and contributed to the ongoing development of optical science. In conclusion, Isaac Newton's optics stands as a towering achievement in the history of science. This is more than simply an antiquated physics textbook. It is a testament to the power of observation, experimentation, and mathematical analysis. While certain aspects of Newton's theories have been superseded by more modern understandings, his contributions to our knowledge of light and colour, and to the methodology of scientific inquiry, remain fundamental. Optics is a shining example of how rigorous scientific investigation can illuminate the mysteries of the universe and transform our understanding of the world around us. It's a legacy to his enduring genius that continues to inspire scientists and scholars to this day.
We really appreciate you tuning in to this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.